Andy, I said it on Friday. Football is back, but it is really back now. We've
Hey,
got a
really.
full week of games. This is unbelievable, Andy. We're like, I can't wait to get into the discussion with you, Andy.
There's so much, Dave. I regret that we can't just talk NFL only for the next, whatever it is, 5 months, 6 months. There's just so much fun to cover, but we got to maintain discipline. Happy Monday morning to you, Dave Pounder. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Andy Jabor. So, Andy, let's before we get into our topics, because we're probably going to run long a little bit on football, but
Yeah.
I got to give you a health update.
Yes, I'm
Uh,
excited for this.
So 214.4 was last Monday.
Yeah.
Andy, traveling is hard. It's a little bit tough. And then we went out with our family, like neighbors this weekend. I tried to stay on track as best as I could, just to try to ride this out. I wanted to go down a little bit. Andy, I was up point 0.4, so I was 214.8. All things considering, I'm not disappointed.
Yeah.
It would have been good to be 213, but it is what it is. I've got 2 weeks to the wedding. I still think I can do it, Andy. It's there.
Well, I mean, one, I think it's a great attitude. I think travel definitely is, it's a complex factor, right? And then like minor fluctuations, I mean, that could be, I mean, Dave, you might have not taken a good dump yesterday, and that could be that difference in that scale, right? So, I mean, so I think you're taking a really, smart, calm approach to it. Good number still. So good for you. But then two, now that you said it that way with your final 2 weeks, all I can hear in my head is Europe singing the final countdown, and I'm fine with that. I love that. Do you remember that song? It's
Yeah,
the
the
final
final
count. Yeah.
countdown.
Yes, yes. One of the greatest air guitar songs of all
Yeah.
time. Right? That was a good. Do you remember as good parents, did you guys ever play Lego Rock Band or any of those games with your kids? Like
I
this.
mean, I played Rock Band, but not Lego.
Yeah, any of those
Yeah,
variations.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that was always a good song for that game. You could sit there and play along to the final countdown. So
And Andy, speaking of Rock Band, now see we're off on these tangents. Did you ever see the movie Couples Retreat with Vince Vaughn and Jason Bateman and
no, and I remember seeing it and wanting to see it because I love both of those guys. But no, I did
yeah.
not see it.
Yeah, so it's a good movie.
Yeah,
There's a lot of really really good scenes in there, but there's one scene at the end where Vince Vaughn hustles the camp counselor on like Rock Band, and it's one of my favorite rewatchable scenes when they get whenever it's on because it's on cable a lot. Whenever
yeah.
it's on, I like to like where are we at on this scene? But the couples retreat, Andy, just in general, good time
All right,
movie.
I noted. I must find that and see
Yeah.
where it's streaming.
Yeah, I mean, there's John Favreau in it. There's Catherine Bell in it. I can't remember the girl who's the Vince Vaughn's wife, but she's quite good too. Okay, Andy. Let's without further ado, we need
Good.
to get into week one, NFL football. So many great games. Our teams both won,
Yeah.
Andy. My team won convincingly. It was a
I
laugher.
mean, dominant, dominant, dominant.
And preceding that, we had Dak Prescott's contract announcements, which begs the questions like, what the fuck were we waiting for? Like,
Yeah.
why did
Yeah.
was it all the media you had to, the storyline? Is that what you're looking for? Dak
Yeah.
didn't play great. He played good enough. I mean, I was happy with Ezekiel Elliott. He looked thinner,
Yeah.
and he looked better. So maybe there's a little there. But Andy, I don't want to talk about the Cowboys because I'm not going to this year. And so I'll note their wins. I think they'll thing, but I'm not getting excited.
So,
Your Lions, though,
yeah.
overtime win, Andy. I went to bed at 17-3. I thought it was in the bag.
It was not in the bag. It was not in the bag. So, I mean, one, Dave, I think we got to give fair warning, right? For anybody that's joined us, since the last NFL season, any listeners joined us last season, once NFL hits, like this is a regular feature on the show for the rest of the NFL season. So, if you don't love football, we're going to try and help you learn to love football because we just can't get away from it. So, fair warning, Dave. Fair warning, all this. But yeah, the Lions game. Listen, and there's so much to cover in Week One. One, the Dak signing massive. I just wonder if you guys have enough money now to sign Micah Parsons because you need to sign Micah Parsons because he's an
He's
absolute
amazing.
monster, an
Yeah.
amazing athlete, and so such a talent. But the Lions game, Dave, I'm gonna be so tired later. I was warning my wife for like the last 2 weeks. I was like, I'm gonna be so tired on the ninth. I'm gonna be so tired because I knew I was gonna be staying up way past my bedtime. But Dave, what an exhilarating game. I mean, 17-3, Lions were looking strong. Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, just a great receiver, came back and really made it look scary. Ended up in a very close battle. Loving our new kicker, Jake Bates, brought up from the XFL UFL, 2020 overtime. But Dave, that's when the Lions just did something glorious. They put aside the exciting plays of JMO, who was phenomenal yesterday. I mean, Amon-Ra had a quiet game, but Jameson Williams was just absolutely wild. But they just said, hey, we're just going to shove this football down your throats and try and stop us. And they went to their reliable O-line. They dug down in the trenches. David Montgomery just slammed the ball up the gut, play after play, like the absolute beast that he is. It couldn't be stopped. It was just a one drive touchdown victory at home. What an exciting finish to week one. It was phenomenal. So it was great. But Dave, week one, I mean, we could talk Lions and Cowboys all day, but just looking at the NFL, week one, I always say it takes 3 or 4 weeks to know what the hell is going on in the NFL because, like, are your Cowboys absolutely amazing and just destroying what was thought to be a good Cleveland Browns team? Do the Browns suck? Did the Patriots just beat Cincinnati at home yesterday? I mean, there's so many. The Saints, are they actually good, or are the Panthers really that god awful again? I mean, there's so many questions that you don't understand until about 3 or 4 games in. You start to figure out, okay, who's a joke and who's actually legit here. You know, the Bears got a win. Not sure if that was really a good win. The Vikings played great, but they played against New York. You know, there's so many questions. There's so many storylines. I can't wait for the season to play out.
Well, Andy, we said it last week, is like the first month of the season, there are going to be some people are going to come back at the end of the season and go, man, that was a really bad loss. And
Yeah,
if we would have won that one game,
yeah,
we would be in the playoffs. And you think about it's because like a lot of these teams don't play their quarterback through the preseason,
right,
which is
right.
fucking stupid. Your Lions did it. I don't understand why teams don't use the preseason for what it is. And so what winds up happening is the month of September is effectively a
Well,
preseason
yeah,
warm up. I mean, getting everybody used to the time. How many times did we hear that on the broadcast? But let's look at a couple of those games, Andy. The Patriots are not good. Let's just not fool ourselves. I mean, they put up 16 points, but how bad? I mean, the Patriots do have a good defense, but I mean, the Bengals looked fucking awful.
yeah,
The Bears didn't pass for 100 yards, had two special teams turnovers for touchdowns, and they beat because Will Levis is
Will
awful at
Levis.
football, apparently. And you look at some of these things. I mean, I was looking at the scores earlier. Like Arizona was up 17-3 or 17-0 on the Bills.
Yeah,
I mean, what a game that was. I mean, it was just, I was like, oh my God, there's so many good games on
yeah.
here. And then, of course, you get like stinkers. I mean, we're already hearing when is Michael Penix Jr. going to come in for Kirk Cousins because he looked really bad. This is what the NFL's about, Andy. It's what about.
It's crazy. I was out doing a ruck workout yesterday. I knew I was gonna be at the Lions game, so like I've got to get my workout in on this part of the 1 o'clock game. So I was out there. I came in. I showered. I cleaned up. I was getting ready to sit down and park to watch football for the rest of the day. Right. So I came in and I saw the scores, and I was like, "What the hell is happening right now in
Yeah.
the NFL?" I mean, it was wild. So I love it, man. There's so many things to get into. I'm looking forward to looking at our top five later this week because I'm not sure. You know, again, it's hard to do the top five because you don't know what's actually happening on the football field. I mean, Tyreek Hill, right? A crazy start to his day yesterday. Guy getting a little run in with the police, ends up with an 80-yard score. I mean, the Bills looked good, Dave. If you're an NFL fan right now, the NFL handle on Threads posted real fun to watch. You know what they're posting. One thing they posted right now was every 1-0 team is going to the Super Bowl, and that's how people feel right now, right? If your team is 1-0 right now, you're like,
I
oh
don't know if
shit,
you're.
we're going to the Super Bowl. We're the best
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't know if are the Saints really that good or the Panthers really that bad. I mean, good gravy. I was I was grocery shopping because I was trying to get the Cowboys were playing at 4:30, so I was like, let me get mine in at the 1 o'clock game. And in the aisle, somebody was like, "Did anybody see the Panthers score?" I was like, "Hey, don't worry, it's already 17-0. You don't need to worry about what the Panthers are going to do this year." So it's I feel actually bad for the Carolina fans because this is going to be one of the worst trades of all time
So
to
bad.
get Bryce Young, which no, I mean,
Yeah,
look, I'm sure he's a great guy and he was a great college quarterback, but it's really blown up on the Panthers. I mean, only to be, I guess, followed up with the Deshaun Watson trade because that trade is looking awful
yeah.
as well. And they
Which,
put
which
up,
which almost all of America is happy about, right? I mean, at the end
yeah,
of the day,
oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean, nobody,
So, but I mean, here's the thing with the Deshaun Watson trade is they put up a stat during the game and they said, well, Watson is 8-4 with the head coach when he plays, but he just hasn't played a whole lot because he was suspended and then he got hurt. And the reality is you, it's not so much like if you just watch him play, he's just not good. I mean,
yeah.
he's just not the
Not
same.
the guy he was. He's not the guy he was.
No, and that comes when you don't play football for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
It's really hard. So that's a challenging situation. Andy, anything on the football docket? We're going to talk football probably every day this week. So, what's anything else, lingering thoughts on football?
Just so happy for the teams that won. It's so fun to see. I loved the Lions game yesterday, Dave. I'm excited to get into it all season long here. It's going to be a blast. So
Yeah,
happy return of the NFL to America.
yeah, there we go. All right, so let's jump into our next topic, Andy. Uh, what you heard I did a little bit this weekend. I went grocery shopping. Went out with neighbors to dinner. What'd
Yeah.
you do this weekend, Andy? You catch a movie or anything?
I guess so, Dave. It's an exciting time here in my home. My wife is back in school. She just started the pursuit of her doctoral degree, so she's back in school grinding away.
Dr. Jabor, that'd be impressive.
Dave, I'm gonna be sleeping with a doctor in a couple of years. You know? But so she's hard at work, and so we agree that Saturdays we're gonna try and go out after her classes and just let her blow off some steam and go out and have a nice time. So we're gonna have a really nice dinner, beautiful night. And after dinner, we're like, hey, let's just stop by the movie, see if anything's playing. And like we saw Aliens was playing and Beetlejuice, and I laughed because I thought, I told you I wouldn't see either one of those movies. We're like, let's just watch Beetlejuice. I never saw the first one. As you I think like I have zero interest in like Halloween. Halloween could disappear tomorrow, and I would be fine. Like I do not care. Nothing Halloween or spooky is interesting to me. But so let's just watch it. Dave, we went and sat down to the theater and watched Beetlejuice. And Dave, I've got to say, I was more than happy to walk out of the movie at any point if my wife was going. Like to say it was bad is an understatement. And we look fun actors, right? I mean Michael Keaton. We all loved Winona Ryder when we were young. William Dafoe. It was a fun cast. The young actress that plays Winona Ryder's daughter in the movie.
Ortega, I think that's
Yeah, yeah, good,
yeah.
good, good, good young actress. It was fun. It was fun. It was, and it wasn't like absolutely terrible, but it was pretty terrible. I mean, like there was nothing redeeming in that movie. It was a dumb story, wasn't really great to watch. There's nothing really fun about it. And I was just like this is really just there's making money. There's throwing something together as a sequel for people to come and see and make money. This is a crappy movie. It was terrible. I really did not enjoy it. It was if you're even thinking about watching Beetlejuice, I'm gonna tell you don't even lose that time of your life streaming it later. Like just watch anything else. Go rewatch Planet of the Apes movies. Like go watch something else. It was not good, Dave. So
Do you
strong
think
strong recommend against.
do you think it's because you didn't watch the first one, you didn't
No,
understand the second one?
no, Dave's not that complex a movie, and then it just they give you ample like background. Like it's fine. It's just not good. I mean, just
Yeah.
really. I mean, if you're really into Halloween, like maybe you'll like it. Like if you like spooky stuff, there's nothing scary about it, right? But if you like stupid looking creatures with their heads cut off and ghosty type storylines, like maybe you'll enjoy it, right? But for me, I thought it was awful. I think most people sit there and be like, oh, that was cute, you know what I mean? But like save your $20, save your 2 hours, like go do something else with your time. It was really like I don't know the rating system. We don't do movie ratings on this show, Dave, but like six thumbs down or whatever the right rating would be. It was not good. So I've got to say thumbs down on that one. But there's a lot of other movies coming out that are going to be good, and so we'll have things to enjoy.
Well, you pose so this is obviously the sequel to Beetlejuice, the
Yeah,
first one. I can't remember when that came out, but you had posted something, and I think it did really well at the box office. I've heard good things about it, but again, I didn't see the first one either. I have no intention of seeing the second one here either. So, but for those who did, maybe you enjoyed it. Let us hear on Threads or X or whatever. Andy, but it did get you. You had a thought earlier on Threads this week. You posed to me about, have we forgotten some of these
yeah.
classics? Have the millennial generation and these the new generations for the 21st century, have they forgotten some of these great classics that we grew up on? And you mentioned Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Love it.
um, but it did get me thinking, what are some of the movies out there that maybe you should be watching instead of going back and watching Beetlejuice, Andy?
Yeah, Dave, man, I listed off a few, right? Man, I listed, Fast Times, The Last Dragon, The Breakfast Club. This is Spinal Tap, right? I mean, these are
Yeah.
movies that I think, a lot of millennials, a lot of Gen Z and the rising Gen Alpha, like a lot of them have never seen these movies. And if I was thinking about it, you could add so many to that list, right? But on it was the backstory of Russia's meddling in our elections, their influence operations, and so many voters being led astray by influencers who have been bought and paid for unwittingly, it seems, by Russian propagandists. Like with all that background, I'm like, Americans sit down and rewatch the original fucking Red Dawn movie, which
Yeah.
we watched. Combined, we probably watched that 1,000 times, right? Like we need some good American anti-Russia propaganda movies to be made. Like we need to soak. The original Red Dawn is so good, right? It's such a good movie. And like you walk out there and you're like, I love America, I hate Russia. Like we need more of that. We like go watch Rocky Four and celebrate the downfall of Ivan Drago and the indomitable spirit of Rocky Balboa in the city of Philadelphia. Like we need some more of that propaganda right now. But there's so many classics. To think like even going beyond some of the '80s movies, like Dazed and Confused. Matthew McConaughey
Yeah.
is most inappropriate, but maybe one of the most fun characters of all time. Like there are some timeless classics that we grew up with that just like me in our generation never saw the Maltese Falcon or Casablanca, right? And just don't appreciate those movies, which are good movies, by the way. I think there's so many people today that haven't seen some of these '80s movies that are just so rich and funny and so timeless because they capture the era so well. It's tough. But Dave, what am I missing? What are other ones? Teen Wolf? Like what else was a gem that's missing?
The original Teen Wolf was, and again, it's hard because some of these have been remade in the recent years. Like you talked about Red Dawn, the remake of Red Dawn with the Hemsworths
Not the
and
same.
some, it was not the same. It's just a different thing.
Yeah.
The one movie that always kind of picks me up all the time is Strange Brew, Andy. This is with Rick Moranis and Thomas. Like this is like it's just two guys talking about drinking, getting drunk in Canada. Like and that was always a fun one. But I think it's a lot of like Teen Wolf's a good one. I mean, Back to the Future has gotten a run because they have a musical about it now. And there's always some good nostalgia for Michael J. Fox, but there's so many of those type of movies back there. And look, they're cheesy. You'll go back and watch some of those and you're like, oh my God, this is awful filmmaking or whatever. But you got to remember, like that was just it was great. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much stuff about tying into our youth and tying into the what the environment was at this time. Today, it's hard to make those type of movies because you like the Red Dawn today, and so like even Top Gun, the remake of the Top Gun Maverick, they didn't want to use anything associated with China because then they couldn't play it in the China market.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
and it's more about
Cowards.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
more about that kind of stuff than more about making money than it is about anything else. So,
Yeah.
all right, Ian, that was a fun little thing here. Any other movies you thought of off the top of your head?
No, we could go. We could maybe we'll do a segment day on it's like recapping some of my favorite '80s movies at some point because there's so
Yeah,
much to
yeah.
enjoy.
Goonies is always a good one. I know that's getting some play here with some other things that have been coming up. But I always loved the Goonies. That was a good one. So, all right, Andy, let's jump into our last segment. This is a pseudo politics one. Don't necessarily want to spend like talk about a lot of things. We'll do a debate recap, Andy, on Wednesday because the debate is supposed to go off tomorrow.
Yeah,
And so it looks like everybody's hunkering down, planning and preparing. At least Kamala's planning and preparing. Trump seems like he's just going to take his normal approach to things. But
yeah.
so we'll get into that. But that means, Andy, I probably have to watch the debate. Is that what you're telling me?
I think that's the price you have to pay, Dave. Yeah, I think that's the exchange. It's tough. It's tough.
Okay, well, I'm gonna I'll commit to watching part of the debate. How's
That's
that?
fair.
Because I
That's
don't
fair.
think I can stay up for all the just the bullshittery, I think,
Yeah,
of all of it. Okay, so Andy, a couple things we talked on Friday. I think I left the show on Friday talking about tariffs
yeah,
and Trump's statements about it's actually incoherent rambling about how he's going to pay for childcare, and it's interesting because on the same day, Vance, his vice presidential candidate, also had a response on how to pay for childcare, and it was about, hey, have grandparents, grandma and grandpa come over and watch the kids, or have your aunt
yeah.
and uncle come over and watch the kids. It didn't seem to jive with Trump, who said we're going to tax the shit out of people who are going to be bringing goods into this country. And we're going to have so much money. It's
So
not
much.
going to, there's so much money that it's not going to have, that we're going to be able to pay for childcare or something. So basically saying making more money is more important than anything else because, obviously.
If that's what he said, because it was really hard to understand what in the world he was actually saying.
Yeah. So with all of that, Andy, there's just been it's hard to still make any sense out of what he's saying there. But Reason did a good job. You sent me an article from Reason
Yeah.
on this. Andy, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think it just sort of it picked up on a lot of the articles that Ben, which was really sort of talking about the incoherent response that he gave. I mean, because I mean, he often like just rambles, right? I mean, we've all heard this. You listen to Trump speak in any environment, like he just talks, and he doesn't really say anything clearly, and that's the problem of the guy. Like he has no real policies. He just says stuff, and so it's incoherent policy. That's a problem because like to actually understand what he wants to do, like what administrators he actually want to do, is really hard, and it drives people crazy. And this is exactly what you see play out when you have somebody who doesn't have principles and doesn't have policies. You end up with a guy that's just in it to win, and you're seeing that now as you see a lot of the religious base that, for example, have been supporting Trump, flipping out because of his recent comments regarding IFB, right, and things of that nature, and abortion, right. It's like he's not a consistent, principled person in any way, and his incoherent response to the childcare question, just sort of rambling, like we think he was talking about making money and like that pay for it, but it wasn't a clear answer. It's like what do you actually what does a Trump administration look like beyond threats of mass deportation and punishing your enemies? Like that's not a platform to run on, but it is because I mean he still has a 50-50 chance of winning the election apparently. But it's just it was a good article on Reason to sort of talking about that incoherent response. But that incoherent response should be a concern for us that he doesn't really have a clear answer on much of anything. Let alone an issue like childcare, which is an issue that Dave, pretty much all Americans like agree, like, hey, childcare costs are too expensive. Everybody should be able to get childcare if they need it. Like let's solve this one. Let's figure this out. Let's make progress. And he didn't offer really much of anything.
Yeah, well, he's good at the one line you said. Lock her up,
Yeah,
deport everybody, and we're going to tax foreign countries, and we're going to withdraw from. We're going to stop paying the bills for everybody else. Is
yeah,
basically
yeah,
so. And those lines work with a certain segment, but I think if you're trying to, you're playing for that middle 20%, right? Because the Democrats have a solid 40% base. The Republicans have a solid 40% base. You're playing for that middle ground of 20%. And is that going to play out over time? And I think these things actually hurt him when again, the comments from the childless cat lady comments
Yeah.
hurt when Vance says those type of things, and then these childcare responses to it. So it's going to be fascinating to watch it, and this will be one thing I do want to see in the debate is there any more substance? My guess is no, but I mean Kamala has to come through with substance too because she's got 4 years of running with Biden as a thing. So who we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, she's gonna have to stand up and articulate her positions clearly and coherently, and not start talking about golf, right? So it's an important debate. It's really important, I think, for her, because I think Trump fans will be undeterred, right? I mean, those that are supporting Trump will be undeterred. It's really, how can either one of them convince the middle folks, especially those in those battleground states, that this is who you want to put your trust in for the next 4 years? And I mean, the last debate, Trump won big, right? I mean, it was an absolutely massive win for him. It could happen again.
But did he win big or did Biden just lose big? I mean that I think
Yes,
that's
yes,
I mean that's kind of like how we're talking about some of these football games. It's like
yeah,
are the Patriots really a 1-0 team or the Bengals just a really bad football team right now? And that'll be the important part. But it is huge for her because she's going to need to do she's going to really need to show that substance. And again, she's only had one primetime interview, and that interview some people would say was more about Tim Waltz than it was about her, it seems like. And there's a lot of things out there. And so fascinating times to see. And I know we didn't want to talk about it. We said we're not going to do a pre-debate segment, and here we go, Andy. We did a full 7 minutes on pre-debate things. I will say, as we transition to wrapping this podcast up, Andy, there have been some, obviously when you get endorsements and you get some campaigning around, they do start talking about like people who would serve on the cabinet. In fact,
yeah,
Trump during his speech, referenced Bernanke a couple times, the former Treasury Secretary. And you can't help but wonder if he's going to bring some of those people into his cabinet if he were to get elected, or what Kamala is going to do. I've heard some interesting names like RFK. Where would RFK be in some of these things?
yeah,
Tulsi Gabbard, where is she going to be? Because she's one of these moderate Democrats who has decided to vote for Trump. Where are they going to do? You saw George W. Bush say he's not going to endorse any candidates. There's a lot of posturing these days for what's going to happen when one of these two people get elected. And
yeah.
any thoughts when you see those things bantied about, Andy?
I think there's a lot to dig into there, Dave. I think how an RFK, a Tulsi, now you're hearing comments about Elon Musk coming in to talk
Oh
about
yeah.
government efficiency, which is nonsense because his organizations haven't been efficient in so many ways. But I mean, it's there's probably a whole lot to talk into that. They've have to maybe a segment just on that at some point. But those that make up the cabinet are really important characters. If you look at Kamala, I think one of the things you have to ask is how much will be bringing back and continuity from the Biden administration. Does a guy like Pete Buttigieg fit into a Kamala Harris administration? Is it going to be all new faces? I don't think we really know on that side of the house. I mean, she's had a lot of really important support. For Trump, it's going to be this mishmash of, not, I mean, and this isn't necessarily a terrible thing, right? But he's got some interesting, colorful characters from all stripes. You've got others that support him that maybe haven't been seen as political in the past. You know, as good or bad as a candidate is, those they bring in are important. To me, what I'm hearing so far from potential Trump cabinet folks isn't appealing, but for some it might be. For some it might be. There might be some excitement about that, and it's something to consider. It's part of the calculation every American's got to make when they think about who they want in the White House, because it's not just that woman or man. It's who they're going to bring in with them, and that's something to ponder. But maybe we'll ponder it further another day, Dave.
Yeah. So, Andy, it's good to have football back in our lives.
It
That
is.
that is the one thing for sure. As much as politics is always going to be there, it's good to have football back in our lives.
Yeah.
So, all right, Andy, we'll wrap up this week, I'm sorry, not this week, this Monday. So a
I'm
pretty
tired enough to call it a week, Dave. If we can just move to Friday, I'm fine with that. I'm going to be so tired today. Thank
I
you.
know. Try to get a power nap in there, Andy. Like 20 minutes, so
More
something.
coffee, more coffee.
Yeah, more coffee. There you go. All right, Andy. That's we'll have some follow-ups on Wednesday. We will do a debate recap, and I'll try to stay awake for that. So, with that, Andy, I'll catch up with you next time.